Hello and welcome to Business Applications 2. This semester we will be continuing in Microsoft Office, and we're going to start with the program called PowerPoint, which most of you probably have used either PowerPoint or something very similar to PowerPoint. Typically students enjoy this unit the most, and we'll be in PowerPoint for at least a couple of months, working on doing basic presentations and then getting into more advanced presentations that hopefully you can use later down the road for different classes. So I want to just start this semester with setting the groundwork on how PowerPoints should look. Now I'm sure a lot of you have seen teachers that do PowerPoints or other students who have done PowerPoints, and sometimes PowerPoints can be really effective and sometimes they're not very effective depending on how somebody uses it. So for this class, you will be able to use some creativity in your PowerPoints, but there are certain guidelines that you have to follow in order to get full credit on your projects. The reason why we have PowerPoint guidelines is so that your PowerPoint can become an effective presentation tool. PowerPoints aren't designed to be your presentation. They're designed to add to your presentation. So although this class is online and you won't be necessarily taping a presentation for me and talking through your PowerPoint, it is something that you might do later on down the road for your speech class or maybe even when you go into college. So you do want to use PowerPoint as a tool. So I'm going to go through a PowerPoint that I've put together and talk about some of the basics. And this will just help you get started on your first PowerPoint project for me. Next week I'll have another tutorial that you'll go through to actually complete a different type of a project. So this is just the basics. I'm not actually showing you how to do it in PowerPoint. I'm showing you my PowerPoint. So some of this, if it's brand new to you, I don't expect you to know how to do everything, but I do want you to follow the rules that I'm going to set out today. So first, you can see that I've got my title slide. Now your title slide is very basic. It has the title of your presentation. It has your name and the date. Some teachers like to have your name, the class name, and the date. It just depends on what that teacher prefers, so make sure you're checking with them. For my class, it's fine to just put your name and the date. If you want to put the class name, Business Applications 2, underneath your name, then that is fine as well. You always want to set up your title slide as a title slide layout. And we'll get into layouts a little bit more as we start the chapter next week. You can notice that I also have a picture of my background. Now this is where a lot of teachers and students get mixed up and put too many pictures as a background or on their slides. You may use a picture of the background on your title slide. Do not use it on your content slides, and I'll get into that a little bit more later. So I have a picture of kind of a forest area, and that's fine for your title slide because I don't have a lot of words over the picture. Okay, now when we're talking about text in a PowerPoint, like I said previously, this is used as an aid to your presentation, so you don't want to overload your audience with paragraphs of text. So my biggest thing is right here, the 7x7 rule. Some of you might have heard that before. What the 7x7 rule means is that on each slide, you don't want to have more than 7 bullets. These are bullets right here, and you can see that I have 6 bullets on this slide, so I'm okay with the 7x7 rule. And you don't want to have more than 7 words on a bullet. So you're not going to write a paragraph. You want to make sure that everything is brief and concise because your PowerPoint is not designed to just be read by your audience, but it should just have key points that help you do your presentation. So as you can see, I'm explaining the 7x7 rule, but on here I didn't write the definition of it. I just placed 7x7 rule. So you are going to keep it very brief and concise. Each bullet needs to be followed by a capital letter. You're pretending like they're proper sentences, even though they don't have punctuation at the end. So always start the first letter after a bullet with a capitalized letter. You want to keep your font style very simple. Don't use something that has this elaborate cursive or anything like that because it's difficult for your audience to read. So keep it simple. You don't want to write complete sentences. Sometimes I understand that something brief sounds like a complete sentence, but what I mean by that is that for your first project, you're going to be talking about yourself. And so I know that you're going to be talking about yourself. So you don't need to say, my name is Susie, and I was born in Nampa, Idaho. First bullet would be Susie, next bullet, born in Nampa, Idaho. So you want to make sure that everything is just concise and not a complete sentence. You don't need to say, I enjoy doing this. Okay, you'll have a title up here that hopefully explains what you're talking about on the slide, and then this would be everything that's brief. You also don't want to have any ending punctuation, so no periods. You could have, question mark on some of them if you needed that, but you don't need ending punctuation. So these aren't complete sentences, so I'm not going to put a period at the end. And then don't use a font that's all caps or type in all caps. Okay, you don't want to be yelling at your audience. You want it to look like a normal text. Okay, so don't use all caps. You can use all caps for your titles up here, but not for your body text. Okay, graphics or pictures. So if you're using a chart or if you're using a graphic like I have here, you want to make sure that it's going to add to the message of the slide. So if you are talking about your age, what school you go to, where you're born, you don't want to have some random picture of a hot dog, because then I'm going to be looking at your slide and saying, what does the hot dog have to do with where you're born and everything else? So make sure it adds to where you're born, or Nampa, Idaho, or whatever it is that you're talking about. So make sure that picture adds to the message. You want to make sure you put it in a practical location. So on this one, I've split my slide in half, so I had a blank area over here, so this is where I placed it. You don't want to cram it in a small area with a lot of text, so make sure it's balanced on your page. Also, you don't want to have any pictures behind the text, so you're not going to move this picture behind your words because it's not necessary. Also, it's very difficult to read words when they're over a picture. A lot of students will change their font color just over that picture or that section, and it's not professional looking. So make sure that your pictures are off to the side. You can use one as the background on your title slide. So another thing on your pictures, don't put too many pictures on a page. So you don't want to overload a page with too many pictures. Typically the rule would be no more than 3 pictures on a page. Okay, slide transitions. Slide transitions in PowerPoint can be found on the Transitions tab on your ribbon, and slide transitions need to stay consistent for the entire presentation. So if you choose the fade transition, keep that for all your slides. Don't have one fade, one checkered, one dissolve. Just keep it consistent for the entire presentation so it doesn't deter from what you're saying. And then finally, effects and animation. Effects and animations, what people do to the bullets themselves, the text on your slide, or pictures. You've probably seen it where they fly in or they dissolve out, or people that are presenting might have one bullet come in at a time while they're talking. All of those are fine to use, but you don't want to overdo it. Okay, so don't use more than 3 different effects for the entire presentation. So I don't want you to use different effects for every single slide. Keep it consistent. You don't have to animate each bullet. There's nothing worse than when you're in front of a crowd and you're trying to do a presentation and you have animated every bullet and you don't realize that it's coming in really slow and you're already on to the next thing. So you can have all your bullets come in at the same time, or you could just do a simple slide transition. You don't want the effects to come in too slow, because then again, it's not coming in quick enough for you to talk about them. And you don't want to have real distracting effects. So there's an effect where you can actually draw how you want it to fly in. That can be very distracting depending on what you're talking about. So make sure you're not using really crazy distracting effects or effects that are going to leave your text off the page, because that happens sometimes. Okay, so that is the basics of PowerPoint, and I know I went through that kind of quickly, and I know that you can't see PowerPoint right now, but you can see the text here. I want you to consider all of these rules while you do your next PowerPoint project for me. It's a very basic PowerPoint about yourself. The directions are in Blackboard. I also have an example that I put together. I do want you to put at least 5 slides together, and the rubric is also found in Blackboard. So you need to have at least 5 slides. You need to have at least one picture of yourself on it. You need to follow that 7x7 rule. You need to spell check your presentation, and you need to have either a slide transition or some type of an animation effect. Okay, as always, if you have questions about anything, please email me. I'm in the labs on Wednesdays and Fridays, or you can always set up an appointment with me. I'm excited to start the semester with you.